We're back from the summer break, although Tim never really left because he did do a great episode with Nelson Valkenburg. And I'm sorry that I missed it, but I was in Nelson's home country. And Tim, that's where you are right now, the Netherlands, specifically just south of Amsterdam in a city called Haarlem. And what's amazing is that you can bike to Zandvoort right from your hotel, Tim, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think Haarlem is about east of Zandvoort, but I'm staying in a town called Norwich. I totally butchered that. So for all of our Dutch listeners, I am so sorry for butchering that. But yeah, Adam, like you and I discussed before we started recording, this place is awesome. I've only been here for 24 hours.
Oh, it's
amazing.
What a country, what a city. I hope you get to go to downtown Amsterdam for a bit and go to the 9 streets and stuff and see the canals, Tim, because man, what an exciting, cool place to be. And you know what, the fact is that my Dutch friends were like, listen, you should have stayed a week or so because you're missing out on the F1 race. Everybody's pumped about it. It is on the calendar for next year. We thought we were going to lose it, but we do have this race this year and then this one next year. And frankly, Tim, the big news today is not about Zandvoort, is not about Max Verstappen even, but it is Max Verstappen's former teammate Checo Perez signing with Cadillac along with Valtteri Bottas. And obviously this has been announced. I watched their clip on Good Morning America this morning. They have been everywhere. And I think we need to start with sort of the press conference that they had. What did Cadillac have to say, Graham Loudon specifically have to say about why these two guys?
Yeah, the big part of it, Adam, just comes down to that experience that you and I have always talked about on this show. And obviously you and I have been leaning towards Valtteri and Sergio for quite some time now for obvious reasons. But outside of that, I mean,
made too much sense.
It was interesting on the press conference, the details in which Graham Loudon ironed out when it came down to why they decided to choose the drivers that they came up with. I mean, obviously there's the marketing side of things, and we can touch on that a little bit later, but when it comes down to the performance side of things for Valtteri, he still obviously has his hands and feet involved in Formula One, being a reserve driver for Mercedes, but he is driving, right? He's always been driving so far this season. He was doing testing with McLaren a few months ago out in Barcelona, getting ready just in case McLaren may call on him at some point during the season if one of their drivers went down. And that's all about the Mercedes pool of reserve drivers that Mercedes has that they sometimes will lend out if need be. And then he's obviously been doing all the simulator work, and he's been doing also other driving duties for Mercedes this season as well. So he's had his hands in it. And so it's not like Valtteri's been completely removed from Formula One or driving an F1 car. He's kept his fitness high at the same time, and he still has the desire. And I think for Cadillac, all of those things were extremely important, plus the experience that Valtteri has that he brings to this situation, which is what they're desperately going to need, Adam. The position that Cadillac is in, entering Formula One, they're going to struggle. There's no sugarcoating that, and they're going to need all the help that they can get, and they're going to need all the experience that they can get, and they get it from both drivers. The bigger question mark for them, Adam, was Sergio Perez. They weren't too sure if Sergio still sort of had it, or did he even have it to begin with? The way things ended for Sergio at Red Bull, and I think a lot of people are starting to finally figure out that, hey, that second seat at Red Bull is not that easy to drive. And it's something that I spoke about on our show last year, in that Sergio wasn't a bad driver. And so the team at Cadillac, especially the management, they were a little skeptical on hiring Sergio at first. And this goes all the way back to, I want to say it was probably around March, April, May-ish. And I was at the Miami Grand Prix and saw obviously Sergio's manager just doing the rounds, and immediately pieced it all together and spoke with Graham Loudon. It was someone that they were talking to, but Graham and his team had to go down to Red Bull Racing, have a few conversations with them, and try and learn what happened to Sergio at the team so they could iron out some question marks that they had. Was Sergio just really a poor driver and was just bringing money to the team, or was this a special circumstance that, yeah, the car just obviously was more suited towards one driver, and it just started to go away from not only Sergio, but also Max at the same time. Max's ability, obviously, able to mask a lot of the issues that Red Bull Racing had. And Cadillac was extremely impressed by what Red Bull had told them, that basically he had surpassed a lot of the expectations that they had set on Sergio. They didn't really think that Sergio was going to perform as well as he was able to do. And I felt it interesting, though, and Sergio kind of jumped in on that comment, essentially saying like, hey, look at how much Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson have struggled in that second seat. I think they have like 7 points or something like that. And basically how many points he left off with the team was obviously more than that. But he was able to do more with the car than what they are able to do with the car currently. So, Adam, there's obviously a bunch to unpack in all of that, but essentially when it came down to choosing the drivers, that's the direction that Cadillac was always looking at going into. And I mean, that's what we on this show have always been talking about as well now for the last year. And so, Adam, I think, yeah, moving forward, I think for the drivers that are out there, I think this is the strongest lineup that Cadillac could form for their first ever full season in Formula One.
Now, for people that don't know, Tim, because Cadillac will not be making its own engines until 2028 at least. That's what their target date is. Who are they going with as an engine manufacturer?
So it's going to be Ferrari at the moment. And I don't know the details of that entire contract and how that is going to work and play out. Obviously, Cadillac has to build their own chassis, and they have to configure their own suspension systems. They have to try and accommodate whatever the power unit size and battery size in what they're going to get. So when the engine manufacturer builds the engine, they obviously make it for their own personal chassis. So if you look at Mercedes, right? Mercedes is going to design their power unit that's going to be based around what their car is going to look like. So essentially, when we talk about packaging for an engine or a power unit, that has to be cling wrapped. Like the entire thing has to be cling wrapped. So the way you design your car has to be based around what the engine size is going to look like. Each team builds their car differently. So they need those specifications, let's call them, so they can gear what they're making more towards what they are receiving from another engine manufacturer. So that's going to be a huge hurdle for them, right, Adam? Because they don't have those parameters necessarily just yet. They may have a specific design, but they're not going to have like a full-fledged, flushed out power unit just yet, I don't think. And for Cadillac, when you're a newer team, that's going to be a big issue because you're now having to you're now having to learn and build something quickly instead of just fine-tuning something. So if I'm McLaren, I have an idea of what Mercedes is the power unit's going to look like when we receive it. If you're Cadillac, you may not have that, right? You may not know what Ferrari is going to be given to you, right? What they may give to you. So there's a lot of stuff there for them to iron out. There's not a lot of time to do it either. So this is going to be a team that has a lot of work cut out for it. Even on the power unit side, it's definitely going to be a challenge for them the first few months in Formula One. There's no question about it. The first year actually is going to be a challenge for them.
Now, I want to go back to Sergio's comments. I believe you're right. It's like 6 or 7 points combined in that Red Bull second seat since he left. Not great. not good results. He said, I feel like I have nothing left to prove on that point, which I really respected him for, because he took a lot of heat last year because of Max's performance versus his. And I think what's interesting here is Cadillac's not only grabbing a very competitive and also very experienced driver pairing, but also a very marketable one. I think one of the things that you mentioned is, Graham Loudon went into the Red Bull, Red Bull hospitality and was asking about, was he just a paid driver bringing in money, or was he a really good driver who happens to have a lot of money behind him? So there's, Sergio has always come with significant sponsorships, but he's also done extraordinarily well and in some not so great cars. And, Valtteri, really, I think he admits he made a mistake signing with Sauber in 2022. It was a tough 3 years there with the Alfa Romeo branding and then the Kick branding. And I'm wondering, for you, this is an American car manufacturer trying to capture the American audience and be Team America. How do you grab a Finnish driver and a Mexican driver and still grab that audience? Is that something that they're concerned about?
It doesn't sound like it. I mean, if anything, they're really embracing the global nature of Formula One. I mean, heck, they even had, Canadian doing, which I was surprised to see, Keanu Reeves doing their VO for their video launch for both of their drivers.
He's doing the documentary with them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's exactly doing that. That's right. So I think, like, when you look at Sergio's marketability in Mexico, obviously, Adam, he has a huge following down there. And that's going to be important, I think, for Cadillac to go after that market, because it is a very big market. Don't kid yourself when you think about Mexico. Mexico is a huge, like, global market. It is. And Sergio's fan base there is massive. It's massive, dude. When you look at Valtteri, his is interesting, right? He does have that global appeal to him. Like, Australians love the guy, Canadians love the guy, Americans love the guy. So he has a very giant, flushed out fan base. His social media presence has been growing, and it's growing even more now that he's actually not in a Formula One car. He has a guy who's been doing his social media for him and has been doing a really great job. One of the guys that he's working with right now, he used to do a lot of Mercedes' social media back in the past, and now he's doing it for Valtteri, because they know each other from the days of Valtteri racing with Mercedes. And he's done a really great job of blowing himself up, being even more than like what he is, which is fantastic for him. He's such a good personality. I'm glad we're finally getting to see it. But then when
he wasn't really allowed to bring it the same way at Mercedes, was he?
Yeah, exactly, Adam. Yeah, it totally. And so on the marketing side of things, for me, I think it's a smart move because of both of those drivers. I think for Cadillac, I think you want the world to see you not just only obviously as being an American team, but a product that can be made available globally. And I think for Cadillac, that's important, and it should be. When we take a look at what can they do, where can they activate, I really think that GM is going to be putting a lot of money behind this in terms of that marketing and activation, commercial branding as well. So I think we're going to start seeing later on in the year, maybe even next year, we're going to see a lot of activation, commercials, advertisements based around their Formula One team, which I think helps in a number of different ways. Obviously, Adam, it gets F1 out there. It puts them on another level in terms of that commercial marketability, which is also important for Formula One, but it's important for the team as well. And it allows fans, newer fans into F1 to understand like, oh, hey, there's a Cadillac team now. That's pretty cool. I'm going to check that out. So it brings more of that brand awareness to them as well. So I think on the whole, I'm pretty optimistic and positive about that side of things. I'm not, however, positive and optimistic when it comes to, building this race car out, having something that's going to be competitive for next year, because I do feel it is going to be a massive struggle, Adam.
Yeah, of course. And I think that people are willing to accept that. You probably have 2 or 3 years as a team before people start asking questions, because it does take a long time in Formula One to do this. And I'm sure Cadillac has built that into their business and their marketing plan. It's like it takes a while to be even in the midfield, right? You look at what Williams, the transformation we've seen with them in the last half decade.
Yeah.
And still they're just barely scraping the top of the midfield. And they've stopped developing the car this year because they're working on next year. It takes time. Now, I'm curious because, Valtteri, I loved the wake surfing picture with the beer and the American flag behind the boat. Like
that's all real.
I asked you the marketing question because I knew the answer, but I wanted you to say it from your perspective, because I think he is a fantastic marketing guy that was really underutilized at Mercedes, obviously because Lewis Hamilton was there. But since leaving, he's got the mullet, he's got the mustache, he's out cycling every weekend with his girlfriend. He's a very cool guy. And Checo is a very family guy. He's got kids and that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot there that can appeal to a North American audience, right? Canada, United States, and Mexico. And one of the things that I think struck me, Tim, about the Valtteri wake surfing video was just what a departure it is branding wise from what we've seen from Cadillac. Cadillac's always been extremely, at least in my lifetime, extremely serious, very sharp lines in their design, black, silver, sometimes a white car, but that's about it. Whereas, the Cadillacs of old were red and pink and chromed out and, beautiful, the classic Americana look that we used to have. I think this is going to be very interesting to watch the metamorphosis of this brand. And we've talked about this before. When Mercedes came into Formula One with Rosberg and Schumacher, they were the old man car. They were available around the world, but they were not the cool car that they are today. And I think Cadillac, beyond wanting global distribution, has got to be looking in that and going, we're looking at younger and, obviously richer people, and we want Cadillac to be a very cool car brand again. And I think Valtteri adding a little bit of silliness to that kind of gives it a little bit of vulnerability, which is a good thing.
Oh, dude, that's a great point. That's such a great point. I mean, you really do need to bring down the age, the demographic of your product, right? And you need to make sure you're targeting, that younger demographic to one day think, hey, maybe I can, Cadillac is a form of transportation. That's a vehicle I'm interested in. Why not take a look at that? I think when, for Cadillac, it's interesting. I have done some work for them in the past, and they've got some really great product, man. I remember doing a bunch of stuff with I think it was a CTS-V at the time. And that car was amazing. It was the things that it could do, the power, the performance of it. It was awesome, but not a lot of people really knew about it. And not a lot of people really knew that Cadillac actually made a really badass sports car. And I think if they come with something that is similar to that is that, more performance based, something that is geared towards a younger audience, this gives them that platform to start pushing it and selling it and making it showing them that it is available and all that kind of stuff, and putting that product really out there. Because honestly, I don't really remember there being a ton of commercials, advertising, or marketing for the CTSV and to really kind of get it out there so people could understand it and see that it was available. And you never really saw many of them on the street. I mean, it was a car that I actually considered at one day buying because it was that cool. I was just fortunate enough to be able to, work with the product and, show people how to drive it and all that kind of stuff. But it was a product that I really enjoyed. I actually really liked that car a lot. And so, yeah, this is a great example of that, Adam, that you make, where it's kind of like taking that marketing aspect of Formula One racing car brand and targeting it towards that younger audience, like you had said with Mercedes and what they did, because that is something that's very important to make mention of and to note for sure.
It's interesting. I think Cadillac for many, many years as a brand had their audience, and they were diehard. The guys that would go and they would buy every 4 years, I'm going to lease a new one, whatever. And then you had, the Escalade explosion. When I was in grade 7 and grade 8, and every hip hop song had a Cadillac Escalade reference and stuff. But and that obviously made Cadillac very popular for a little while. I think one of the things just on a manufacturing standpoint that they're going to have to fight against is whether it's fair or it's not fair, the General Motors cost of maintenance, and the fact that there have been in the past maintenance cycles with General Motors where you're going in and you're replacing brakes once a year, or those types of things where I think people got annoyed with brands like Chevy and GMC and Cadillac by virtue of that as well. And I wonder, one of the things about Mercedes that was really one of its unique selling points, and still kind of is that they have, they're expensive parts, but they are known to be extraordinarily reliable and really well made. That, what do they call it? German engineering, the attention to detail. Audi and Volkswagen had that sort of halo effect as well, because they are German car manufacturers. But, with the Volkswagen, I don't even know how to call it, but where basically the emissions issue that they had about 5-6 years ago, that they were caught out for, I think that they are having to recover from that. And I think the Audi team branding is going to help them with that as well. Right. So I look at this for both of those brands and I go, here's an opportunity. Audi is a great brand. Cadillac is a great brand. I think when it comes to luxury cars, they'd be on the lower end of luxury, right? And it's not because they're not great brands, but are you comparing them with a Ferrari? Are you comparing them with a comparing them with like a McLaren, like that supercar level? Not really. Are they up there with Mercedes? Quality wise, it depends on who you ask, but no, I don't think so. Mercedes is a much bigger global brand. So what an opportunity for these two brands to kind of jump into that area as well. I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. And like I said, Tim, Mercedes has completely transformed themselves in the last 15 years in terms of what audiences they're targeting. I see so many people in their 20s and 30s driving Mercedes-Benz because, it's a great car. They look gorgeous, but also it's a status symbol. And I'm excited to see what happens here.
Well, it opens the door to other auto manufacturers potentially someday coming into F1 if there's enough room available, if teams can agree to allow a 12th team to come in. But when you look at Red Bull and that partnership that they are going to have with Ford, that was a really smart move by Ford to get involved, even though they're not really, building too much for the Red Bull machine. They are doing some battery technology work with the Red Bull powertrains division. However, they're not building out an entire power unit, so they don't really have to worry about spending all of that, but they do have to worry about spending on the marketing side of things. And I think for a company like Ford, who has been removed from top level racing for quite some time now, it's smart for them to get in how they are getting in with Red Bull Racing. And then you look at Audi again, that's a car that is available to Like they make a range of products, like you had mentioned, obviously not only with Audi, but also with Volkswagen as well. Obviously, you can't compare them to like Ferrari, like you had said, or a McLaren. But then you also take a look at the third sort of OEM here with GM, right? Make a range of different types of products. Obviously, they're entering as Cadillac, so that's going to be
supercars.
Yep, exactly. But again, not really a company that has been at a lasting level of top line motorsports either. However, when I say that, you look at what could possibly be a 12th team. If this works out where the marketing side of this goes well for those three manufacturers that I had mentioned, where does this leave us? Who does this open the door to next? Could a Hyundai come in, right? That's been something I've heard discussed throughout the paddock is, why can't we get Hyundai in here? Are they interested? Have those conversations, see where that goes, and see if the teams are interested to get a 12th team to come into Formula One, which I find would be very fascinating if they are ever able to do that. It isn't a conversation that is happening now, however, but it's a conversation that you and I can definitely have at this moment, because I think that that you're opening a door where you can get sort of that lower tier OEM involvement in the sport, which I find it fascinating. I think that would be incredible, like absolutely incredible, if you could get another OEM seriously involved.
Yeah, well, I think Toyota dipping their toe in with Haas is interesting. Obviously, seeing them back in the sport. There are three brands I wonder about with a potential 12th team. Hyundai is absolutely one of them. BMW returning, but in a real way this time, would be very interesting. Although, from what I understand, there's no desire from BMW at this point to go and do that, because they're highly involved in other race circuits and they're happy with what they're doing. Still, Tim, Formula One is Formula One. And the third one is an American brand. It's Lincoln. Lincoln is in a really interesting place, because they're essentially like what Cadillac is, older. The perception among younger people, and if you work for Lincoln, I apologize, is they're a bit tired. I know they make great cars. I've got family members that have a Lincoln MKX, and they absolutely love it. But Lincoln is a heritage brand under the Ford banner. Ford's hooked in with Red Bull. If this OEM thing works out, man, Ford's got to be looking at GM going, I can't let you have this all on your own. And I can't let you have the American market all on your own. I just simply can't. It's too big. I have to wonder if Ford is going, that 12th team might be interesting. And, there are many levels of bureaucracy at GM and many levels of bureaucracy at Ford. So it would be a long-term thing that would take a while to get to. But Lincoln is one that's always intrigued me, because I feel like, Ford has the Mustang. They have the GTs, which are, the GT40, but newer versions of them. Could you have a Lincoln or even a Ford GT branded Formula One car in the future? I'm just spitballing here, but I think it'd be interesting.
For sure. Yeah, and obviously, if you take a look at then Haas, so you go down to Haas and you see what they're doing. Obviously, they've got Toyota involvement with their team, right, with Toyota Gazoo Racing. So an interesting part of that is like, okay, Toyota is helping Haas with, driver and loop simulator, a few other pieces and puzzles that they need to figure out for 2026. But what if Toyota starts to take it really seriously and wants to get back into Formula One? I loved the Toyota Formula One team back in the day when I was a kid, watching that thing being driven by the likes of like Alan McNish and Cristiano D'Amata. And those were drivers when I was a younger driver I really looked up to, and to see them out there pounding around in this Toyota F1 car to me was really cool. And as a lasting memory that I have of that, would Toyota ever consider coming back, right? Like maybe this is just for them playing a bit in the sandbox, seeing what is possible, seeing who else is getting involved in Formula One, seeing where Formula One is headed. And in terms of their the fan engagement, the global appeal to it, see where that can rise to. And for Toyota, if they look at this and say, maybe this is something that we can get involved with, maybe, who knows, right? Maybe they end up getting more heavily involved in Formula One with maybe a team one day or something like that. So there is so much more possibility to all of this that this Cadillac, Ford, Audi projects, what they open up, right? It opens up so much more that you can potentially get more OEM involvement within the sport, which in the past has been dangerous, Adam, because we have talked about how OEMs can just at the snap of the finger pull out of the sport. I mean, I remember in 2008, 09 during the recession. I mean, that ended my career. I mean, again, having an OEM just simply get up and leave like Honda did at one point, I mean, can be quite dangerous. And so that's where I think you need to take a look at, regulations, engines, how much are you spending, all that stuff. What is your spend per the year? And that's all obviously when you boil it all down to it, that's all stuff that, FOM and the teams need to worry about in the future. But this is a really exciting time for F1. And I think yesterday's announcement with Cadillac and both of their drivers being announced was really exciting. I just think it's really great for the sport.
I think so too. I love that we get to talk about this. I love that we get to spitball, like who might come in, how might it benefit them. I'm looking at the Toyota lineup right now. I mean, you've got the GR86, you've got the GR Corolla, and you've got the Supra. Those are three cars that they want to market to younger people. Sure does make sense to have them in a sport that's cool and young and fast, like Formula One is and always has been. So yeah. Anyway, we'll you know what? We sat on this too long, but Tim, I could do entire podcasts just on this conversation because I just love it. I think it's awesome. Possibilities.
100%. 100%. And so the speculation part of it for me is also obviously really fascinating as well. Before we move on, I just want to circle really quickly back to Sergio real quick. A few things that I had left out that I just remembered. He's going to be doing some track testing in an older Ferrari. I believe it's going to be the 2022 Ferrari at some point. Sergio will be getting back in the seat. He'll be doing some more simulator work soon with Cadillac and things of that nature to get himself sort of ready for next year. Great of Ferrari for lending them an older Ferrari that they can go and use and test and not get in any trouble by the FIA from. It's great. But for Valtteri, it's a little bit of a different story. Basically, he is still contracted to Mercedes, and Mercedes still has him doing work for them on the racetrack, in the simulator, the marketing side of things as well. So his sort of release date hasn't really been discussed too much. That's still something that's sort of ongoing at this moment of when Valtteri will be officially released from Mercedes. But good on Mercedes for letting them do this announcement with Valtteri and things of that nature. So.
Of course, Tim. Yeah, I think it's great. Now, we should, because, listen, it's race week. We have a little bit of a track drive-through with Tim at Zandvoort. We got our little racing sim here at SDPN, so we're going to have you walk us through Zandvoort. It didn't go well. All right, it's Tim's favorite track, the Dutch Grand Prix,
Why
Zandvoort.
is it my favorite track?
It's definitely not his favorite track. So Tim just spent the last 10 minutes before we started recording here telling us how flippin' hard this track is.
This track is very hard.
And, the sad thing is that it is actually apparently going away. We've got this year, we've got next year guaranteed, but the word is 2027, it will be gone. And it is one of the more fun tracks to watch, I think. Just maybe, you see? There you go. There's Tim's in the dirt. All right.
Oh, my God.
Listen, if Franco Colapinto can be safe, so can you.
Oh, he crashed.
I know.
Well, I mean, like, we're recording this a couple days after he crashed during the Pirelli tire test. But
the word is that he's safe. He's safe. So as we start back up at the Dutch Grand Prix, Franco Colapinto will be in an Alpine. I think there's a lot of Jack Doohan fans out there going, hey.
Oh, exactly. Where's my guy? What's happening here?
Exactly. But, that is kind of the way it goes. So Listen, let's talk about the Dutch Grand Prix, which is every year always loaded with Max Verstappen fans.
Ik van hun koffie.
Yeah.
I think I said that wrong.
What does that even mean?
I think it means I like coffee, but
Okay.
I could be totally wrong.
All right.
We actually have a lot of Dutch listeners.
Do
so
we really?
I'm probably going to get roasted.
Lucky us. Lucky us. So, yeah. No, I love. Do you have any more?
That's all
Any
I
more
got,
Dutch
man.
gems?
That's it. That's all I literally had to research that. Siri gave it to me on my way in today.
There's a famous tweet from a Dutch politician, and it says, "Ich bin have in problem" or something like that. Hebben in problem or something like that. I'm like, that's the only Dutch I know. And my wife's last name, which is Green in Dutch. So for those of us or Dutch listeners, you know my wife's last name. So here's the deal. This Grand Prix is going to be really interesting. The last time, and this is kind of fitting with the Dutch and the Italian Grand Prix back to back here. The last time Max Verstappen was lapped in a race.
Was it here?
No, it was not here.
gonna say,
It was at
hasn't he,
Monza,
like-
but that's coming up.
Hasn't he owned this race?
He has owned this race.
Yeah.
The last time he was lapped in a Formula One race, can you name the year, Tim?
This year.
This is hard.
And was it Hungary?
Well, half the grid was Hungary. But no, the last time Max Verstappen was lapped in a race, Monza, 2017.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah, so like...
What a stat!
When he's not doing well, it's like, oh man, the world's over. But you forget just how unbelievable a driver he is. And, you know, I wonder about his car at this track, because obviously this is an important race for him to win. I think Belgium, and I think this one, obviously he wants to win, and, you know, the Red Bull ring for the team. But, you know, what does Red Bull's car look to be around this track? Oh, here we go, into the wall.
God, that would have been a massive shunt in real life.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Adam,
I am
like,
okay.
The only reason there is a Dutch Grand Prix is because of Max Verstappen.
Right.
Like, let's be honest here, right? If it wasn't for Max, like this, I mean, the track would exist, but I mean,
Probably would be hosting Formula One races.
yeah, no, there's no way. I mean, that's one of the reasons why. Well, the reason they came back here was because,
He was so good.
yeah, because of Max, right? Like they knew they would get a good turnout for it, get lots of fans of the circuit. I'm really excited to go to this race because you know, a friend of the show, Nelson Vulkenberg,
Who we love. Hi, Nelson.
he just explains that this track is just like a massive party. That's all it is.
Okay.
I'm
I was
looking
wondering
forward
about
to
that.
it.
I was going to ask you, because the Max Verstappen fans, obviously, they come out in full force and that sort of thing. What is it like to be near one of their grandstands?
Oh, like the Dutch grandstand?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
just
man,
even
those
like,
guys are wild.
they are wild.
Oh,
Okay.
oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, because like Dutch fans are known for their partying at sporting events and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But like, what is it like at a Formula One race? Because we could see it in soccer and in other sports, but this one is like, this is kind of special.
You know what? I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like here. Like, I've heard great things about this race in terms of its atmosphere and the fans, and everybody really comes out for it, puts on a good show. It is really hard to drive this track and like talk, like I'm not just and like do something that's like half decent. Like, this is a very, very challenging racetrack.
I love for Tim that it's always on the line, like every lap he's living and dying by. Now, the one thing I will say,
Well, I
and
don't
maybe I'm
want to look
tempting
like an
fate.
idiot in front of the world, but unfortunately, I have looked like a huge idiot over like all of these races.
Tim is
or tracks.
Tim's already saying, like, I'm going to come into this winter, I'm going to practice, which I love. I love that competitive spirit. Like, I'm doing some YouTube videos, but I must practice. I must be great.
Well, you know.
Now, with this course, what is it that makes it so challenging? Obviously, we love this bend right here. That is very race car like that, you know, up on the side of the hill and stuck to it. And
That one's called Tarzan.
Yeah.
There's one of them that's like called Tarzan. I can't remember which one it is though. I've never driven this track before, except for what people are seeing right now.
yeah, look at this. Look at you putting in best laps. You beat your 50,000th in the world.
Oh my gosh!
Look at you. Look at you.
Look at me.
Yeah. What is it? Do you think that makes this track so challenging?
Adam, it's like this. It feels like threading a needle at like 200 miles an hour. And it feels like if I get one little thing, like this could probably be way faster. I just don't know how to tackle it just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quite complex. Like, it feels like when I'm doing certain things with the car, like I know there's no flow to it, which means I'm doing something wrong. and the car doesn't feel good. Like, it doesn't feel natural, and it's sort of like the slower you go, the more alien like the car feels.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
it's like once you start to find the little tricks to the track in a way, then the track starts to feel a little bit better and the car starts to feel a little bit better. But they're really small details. Like, I can't use this curb, which I'm just starting to notice. And then through here, it's like, this I think should be 5th gear, but I don't know. But if I use this curb, it pulls me away from the racing line.
Right.
So it's a really small window to kind of get the car into the right spot where I can nail the throttle, be fast, all that kind of stuff in the turn. It's really hard to explain, but
So
it's how I feel.
No, I'm understanding you. And listen, 4 clean laps in a row, by the way. Let's just throw that out there. Good for you.
For here, like, I find like braking really hard.
This is corner 1.
Around 3rd gear, and then powering out of the corner. But again, staying away from this curb because it's very like serrated. I'm starting to notice it
pulls you off the track.
Yeah, it pulls you off the track. Here, it's like, okay, is this 6th gear and then down into 3rd, or is it 2nd? Like, I'm still trying to figure the gearing out for here. And then it's like flat out. This is all easy.
Yep.
This is easy. This is easy. This here is where it's like, okay, when do I turn in? And I'm starting to notice there's like a road back there. And I just started using it as a reference as when to turn the car in. But it's before that, it's the trajectory going up the hill. It's kind of like, okay, do I need to put the car more over onto the right? So when I crest the hill, I know that road is going to be there as a reference to turn.
So would you say it's more low speed or medium speed corners?
Oh, this is all really fast stuff.
Fast corner.
This is very, very fast.
I was watching
Very
a clip
fast
with David Coulthard, and he was on somebody else's podcast, and he was saying, he's like, in low speed corners, he's like, I was a killer. I was awesome. And he's like, but in medium speed, I could just never fully get the car where I wanted to go in comparison to some of my rivals. And I wonder how a guy like that, who races like that, would do at a track like this.
Yeah, you find out very well. I mean, the thing is that you have to have confidence in when you put the car into the corner. So like something that's really high speed. This section is like a medium speed, but it's like you gotta really hit the brake and then turn the car. But as you're turning it, there's a massive amount of weight transfer going from right to left.
Right.
And you're really asking a lot from the left rear tire. And if you're not really confident that the car is gonna like stick, it's a feeling that you kind of get where you're not fully committed, so you're losing time.
Right.
If you're not fully committed. So something like this would be Coulthard's bag, right? Really heavy braking.
Yes.
Nice and slow, getting back on the power, nice and clean coming out of here. Something like this may give him a little bit more of a challenge because it's off camber when you're coming in as well. It's quick, but this next section would give him a lot of difficulty. So when you're coming up to this turn here, I'm starting to notice that like you kind of want to straight line this a bit, and you want to be about 7th gear, and like having the car here compared to having it a little bit more over on the left is going to compromise you for that downhill really fast like right-hander, what I'm noticing anyways.
Yep.
So something like this would probably give Coulthard a lot of difficulty to trust the car that it's going to stick, because I was using this road here as a reference for when I turn in.
Okay.
So like I'm not taking the car that far. However, I am going to use it to position the car, so I only have to turn the wheel in once, and it's 7th gear, it's flat out, but you're asking a lot of that left side of the car, that left rear tire.
Yes.
And again,
I can see how.
For here as well, it's like, okay, is this
by
flat
an American
out,
Express
is
sign?
this flat out too? Like this whole section, like I'm still trying to learn and judge it. And again, we've only done like whatever 6 laps, so it's trying to pick out those little nuances with this track. And what makes it so tough is because it's very unforgiving. You make a little bit of a mistake, and you're going to crash the race car.
Right.
And I think this track, Adam, is a really good example of just how good these drivers are.
Well, and I was going to ask you, because obviously, as we wrap up the sim here, we are coming off a bit of a weird race in Hungary where you got like double points finishes from Aston Martin. Who do you expect to do well here? Obviously, you would expect a McLaren, you would expect Ferrari, that sort of thing. But who unexpectedly will do well here?
I think we could see. That's terrible. We could see Aston Martin, I think, do well again here.
Really, just because of the cornering?
I think so. I mean, we'll see. But again, we'll know more when the cars get on the track. But again, like McLaren's gonna be fast, right?
Mm-hmm. Always.
Like we know that.
Perpetually.
I would be curious to see how Red Bull does here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is Max's track, but I don't know, Adam. I think it could be a difficult race for Max this weekend.
Right.
For the likes of like Mercedes, they may struggle. I'll be interested to see what Ferrari can do because I think Ferrari could be pretty quick here.
Okay. Well, you know what? We'll be finding out, I guess, very, very soon. Back from the summer break, officially, it's nailing the apex. And there's Tim not quite nailing the apex. Didn't quite nail the apex. So it was a bit of a frustrating track drive for Tim there, but you know what? You got the picture. That's the key. And
that's a hard track, Adam.
Mention there was
it's hard. It's a tough track.
It is a hard track.
Tough track.
There were some rumors about Christian Horner potentially going to Cadillac. There's been rumors about Christian Horner going basically everywhere except for Mercedes. But Graham Loudon put those to bed. And I thought it was interesting. I woke up this morning, looked at my LinkedIn of all places, and Laurent Meintjes, who is the now team principal of Red Bull, made a really interesting statement on his LinkedIn because, you know, obviously it's been the summer break. He got promoted mid-season, and he really is just starting to get his feet wet. But he said this: "My time with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls went by so quickly, it seems strange to think of it as a thing of the past. In the 18 months I spent there, the team went through a rebirth before going on to become a strong contender in an ultra-competitive midfield. That was down to the tremendous effort. Huge thanks to everybody at Racing Bulls for injecting that much positive energy into this new chapter. As for this opportunity I have been given with Oracle Red Bull Racing, I consider it an incredible privilege and honor. These women and men represent the best of what ultimate competitiveness is, and I still look at them as the impossible to beat opponent that they have been for so many of us on the paddock. Every hour, every day I've spent with the people here only serve to confirm that impression. I am very excited about the enormous potential of this group. None of us underestimates the many challenges that lie ahead, and the sport as the sport moves into a new era. But the company motto states that Red Bull is about giving wings to people and ideas, and that is the unique spirit and energy that we all once took flight. And long story short, that's the statement. I thought that was interesting. And, you know, you go back through Laurent's, LinkedIn resume. He was at Visa Cash App, and then he was, a Ferrari racing director. He was at the FIA. He was at Toro Rosso for 9 years before that. One of the things, Tim, that he is going to have to figure out is who is in that second seat next year. That car has been a real pain in the butt, but they're throwing it out the window, and they're going to move into next year. New power unit, new car, same Max Verstappen. We're not sure about Yuki Tsunoda, and there already are rumors swirling about two IndyCar drivers. Now, the first one is Alex Palou, and for anybody that's not paying attention to IndyCar, he is leading the championship right now, which is not easy to do with the amount of cars in IndyCar. It's crazy. But Chip Ganassi of Chip Ganassi Racing kind of put that to bed in a very, I don't know, Tim, in emphatic form. He seemed kind of pissed that it was even a talking point. What were your takeaways from what Chip Ganassi said at his press conference?
He was pissed. That's what I took from it. I mean, he was upset. There's no. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to another broadcaster about it following when it was all over, and it's funny because like Chip doesn't usually give you a lot of time when it comes to the media. He doesn't do a lot of these like media press conferences, and so when I got the invite to join it, I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm getting in on this so I could see what was going on and hear what his thoughts were on the article that was reported on and published, because from my knowledge, that's not, from people I've spoken to in the paddock, that's not something that has been discussed at all. And so when I read that article, I was like, this should be good. So I was like, okay, I'll log on to this press conference call and let's just see what happens. Let's hear what Chip has to say. Maybe he can confirm it. Maybe he can deny it. But at the end of all of it, he basically said that whoever had written the story, that they needed to work on their investigative journalism skills. So I was like, oh, wow. So like he went on. Like
Wow.
there was more. Like Chip was upset about the article. I think he has every right to be in terms of that, because he's trying to obviously hold on to Alex Palou, who is a hot commodity. And it doesn't surprise me that there is, articles or reports swirling around him going to Formula One, or a Formula One team talking to him or showing interest in having Alex Palou on their team because of the season that he has had. It is reminiscent of the Juan Pablo Montoya's, the Alex Zanardi seasons, where those guys just absolutely dominated, smashed everyone, and F1 teams took notice and decided to bring those drivers over for testing, eventually signing them. Jacques Villeneuve being one of them, yes. I mean, we could go on. I mean, Sebastian Bourdais at the same time. That was in around like my time when I was in junior racing, seeing what Seb was doing, and then him moving on to the Red Bull program himself. But again, Adam, when you take a look at where F1 is now and you compare it to what IndyCar is, they are starting to kind of separate in a way. Yes, they are open wheel racing series, but they are starting to venture in two separate directions when it comes to the driving and comes to the getting a driver ready for F1 is different from getting a driver ready for IndyCar. There is more personnel that they have to work with in Formula One. There's more they need to learn, more they need to know. There are different things that they need to do with tires. Tires is such a huge thing when you get to F1. It's big in IndyCar, yes, but it's even bigger in Formula One, and that takes a long time to learn, and it's really difficult to bring someone over who has been driving a certain way for so many years and then have them and who's getting older. I mean, Alex isn't like ancient or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but he's been driving IndyCar for a while now, and to make that switch into an F1 car now is really challenging. It's not like back in the days when Jacques Villeneuve was making that switch. Like,
no,
it just isn't.
I mean,
and so
different worlds, even something as small as like powered steering versus not powered steering, right?
A whole thing. There's so much, Adam, that goes into it.
You got to be different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
So Alex Palou obviously was somebody that McLaren had on their radar for years. He raced for their, IndyCar team. And I think
Palou was always with Chip Ganassi. Like he was, Palou was always with Chip Ganassi. He had a deal with McLaren for some like testing duties and being sort of a part of their McLaren program in a way. And then obviously we've had the legal dispute for what's going on between not only Palou but McLaren as well. So if you think of it this way, if Red Bull Racing was interested in bringing Alex to their team, there are, I think, a number of different factors that I believe Red Bull would probably have to go through. One, they'd probably have to take a look at a buyout clause with Chip, and Chip is definitely going to, raise the price on that for sure, because he's going to want good money for a good investment that he's had. And then on the flip side of that, Adam, there's who's paying for this legal dispute that's going on between McLaren and Alex Palou. How is that going to be handled? What would another F1 team's involvement be in all that? Like, what would Red Bull have to do? And then again, you're having to pay the driver who you're bringing over as well. So for Red Bull, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? You've got some really good talent, and you've got some really good talent that's coming up. Nelson and I spoke about this on our last show, but you've got Arvid Lindblad, who could possibly end up in that Racing Bulls seat. And you've got Isaac Hajar, who's doing an incredible job this season, and you got Liam Lawson and you got Yuki Tsunoda and the big team. So what do you do with all of that driver movement? You can't just throw those guys away. You've spent so much money on them. They're really good talents that I don't think you just want to waste. So, Adam, I think when you take a look at all of this, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you go and get Alex Palou and bring him over?
Right. Now, one of the things then, Tim, that seems to have a little bit more smoke than Palou to Formula One is Colton Herta to F2. Now, Colton Herta has been rumored to be interested in an F1 seat for a long, long time. He doesn't have enough super license points, so he would have to go to Formula 2. And the rumor is, I mean, because the IndyCar season's over, that he might go now. He has not publicly refuted this claim. How much veracity would you say that there is to this, and who would be interested in him?
Well, Colton, there's a lot that would, I think, have to play out in a certain way for Colton to get his super license and the points that he would need. He'd have to finish in a certain level in Formula 2. F2's season's kind of running to its end. Colton, if I'm a driver, I'm not going to just leave my IndyCar season. They still have one race left, but leave that and go and jump in F2 for a few races that are remaining. He's probably going to struggle when he gets here because he's got to learn a whole new car, all these tires, different strategies. He's got to learn a team. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you go and do that? So I don't think Colton's heading over to F2 anytime soon. I don't think he would leave his spot within Andretti, the money that they're paying Colton, and just leave all that to go to F2 to get a super license. Would he even be getting paid going to F2? I highly doubt it. And then when you look at what Colton needs to do in IndyCar to get that super license, I mean, he's got to finish in, I think, like the top 4 or the top 5 in the IndyCar championship to get that super license. It's something that he is more than capable of doing. So I think Adam for Colton, it makes more sense to basically just stick where he is and try and get the super license that way.
So, Tim, I guess the last question we have is this weekend, who do you expect to be good at Zandvoort? Obviously, McLaren's been dominating all year, but we're back from the break. Who do we feel like is going to be strong at this track?
I think obviously McLaren's going to be strong here, Adam. I think Ferrari has potential to be strong, and I'm really interested to see what Aston Martin can pull off because of obviously where they left off at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I'm excited about Aston Martin. It's nice to hear a different name in there. You know what I mean? And Tim, so I can't wait to watch all your social media this weekend. Obviously, you can check out Tim on TSN all weekend long as well. And enjoy your time, Tim. Like, I can't wait to hear how it goes at the track. You're scouting this out because I'm eyeing 2026 and going, man, it would be really cool to be at the track for that. I'd really like to be in Amsterdam for that, in the area for that. So anyway, have a good time at the track, Tim. We will talk to you Sunday night or Monday morning whenever we can get back on and record the post-race recap.
Cool. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.